Hello, everybody. When you were in high school, did you play any sports? Personally, I played two sports. I played football and I wrestled. What if I told you that only 1% of high school athletes actually receive a full Division One scholarship? The NCAA reported on September 23rd, 2020, that among college revenue and athletics, they received $18.9 billion. The NCAA also reported that there are about 460,000 student athletes. If you divide that $18.9 billion between 460,000 athletes, each student athlete would receive $41,087 per student athlete. For the longest time, colleges have brought in huge amounts of money off of college revenue in the numbers of the billions. Today, my goal is to persuade you on why college athletes should be paid for all the tireless efforts and work that they put into receiving their scholarships and playing these sports while being full-time students. This topic is very significant and prevalent because more often than not, students will come out of school with no professional contract, with student debt and personal debt. Goldberg Grab stated in April of 2020 that in 2015, an athlete named Silas Nasita at Baylor University, who played college football, was ruled ineligible because he was receiving housing and food while he was homeless playing Division I football at the University of Baylor. Today, I will go over on why athletes should be paid, because there are so many issues that it's creating for these athletes in the modern day. Procon.org mentioned on April 15th of 2020 that college athletes are risking their bodies as well as their future careers and earning potential to play college sports while receiving a subpar education. He said that they're receiving a subpar education because most of these athletes are putting so much time into their sports and so much effort that by the time they make it home to pursue and study about their school topics, that they're completely out of energy and therefore receiving a subpar level of education. Goldberg Grab shared on April 2020 that nearly 14% of student athletes of Division I schools experienced homelessness and 24% were food deprived in the past 30 days. For a Division I athlete to wake up in the morning and get all that he has to do done throughout the day with his school, being a full-time student, then in the afternoon to go to practice and give his 100%, to not come home to shelter and a warm meal, is just completely unacceptable. Full ride scholarships are not common, and in certain cases, students can actually lose the scholarship they receive. NCSA Sports stated on May 23rd, 2021, that most student athletes do not receive a full ride scholarship, that in fact only 1% do. For those of you that played high school sports, think back to your senior signing day. There was probably only 3, maybe 5 people signing in your school gym when you have a class of maybe 400 plus. Hadlich from athletics.com told us that on February 16th, 2019, at the end of the day, a coach is the one responsible making the final decision of how much a student athlete will receive, or if they will even receive a scholarship at all. For a college athlete to rely on that one person to provide a scholarship for their sports and academic career is just completely unrealistic. Politics and performance can come into play, and if a college coach is not liking that anymore, he could go ahead and then pull it. Or if there's a new coach that comes into play, he can then decide to not renew that player's contract. Greed and money has made colleges make a huge problem and cause of this issue. Colleges make money off of sports and tuition, room and board, and books, and if you're on a food plan. Drozdowski from bestcolleges.com reported on November 16th, 2020, that in college football, among those reporting the profits, the median profit per school was $7.9 billion. Drozdowski also reported that basketball, particularly the annual March Madness tournament, brings in about $1 billion and the championship game bringing in $820 million. Once graduated, large amounts of debt happened with students because they were not working their personal jobs, say maybe getting a part-time job or a full-time job while pursuing a career, just because it's unfeasible with the amount of time and commitment that they're putting into the sport and their academics. Dior Scott, a junior college athlete that you might have heard of from Last Chance U, reported on August 30th of 2020 that a lot of his teammates had no clue that he was even sleeping in his car. For that athlete, in his certain situation, he had grown up with many hardships with his family, coming from a poor family and not being able to pay for college. And so for him to receive a scholarship would be huge and possibly be able to get him off the streets. Next, I'll move over into solutions, because with this problem, there are many solutions. Two solutions that come right off the bat are: one, these students should be paid, and two, there should be more scholarships handed out rather than 1% getting a full ride scholarship. If athletes were paid, they would save a lot of personal burden, and Harris stated on April 27th that studies have found that athletes spend 32 to 44 hours a week on sports, which is actually 3 times more than they'll spend on their academics. This is extremely detrimental because we have all heard of that classic amazing athlete that loses his scholarship or goes on academic probation because they're, one, becoming unmotivated, or two, they're so caught up in all that they're doing that they become way overwhelmed. Goldrick Rapp stated on 4/20/21, or the Division I and Division II athletes, 3 in 5 students will actually have a scholarship or be on scholarship. And most of those scholarships will only be partial. Shortina added that on March 22nd of 2021, colleges give $3 billion about in scholarships. And when you think about it, that $3 billion is a huge amount of money, but in comparison to what each college is bringing in, and the NCAA reporting the $18.9 billion of revenue that they're bringing in, that's really not all that much that they're giving to scholarships, rather than the $15.9 billion left that's being brought into schools. In conclusion, I hope that you all see why these college athletes should be played. And just to summarize everything, all these colleges are making huge amounts of money while these college student athletes are racking up student debt, and could possibly risk a detrimental injury and suffer something which will then affect them down the road and for potentially the rest of their lives. In closing, I hope that you all can definitely find it in your hearts and see that athletes should be compensated for the work that they do. At the end of the day, we all go to work and we expect to come home compensated from our employers. And in college athletes, there should be nothing different, because they are very much working as hard, if not harder, on the sport and their performance level. Thank you.